So we've got this current display, but we want to change this display. So we're going to follow bury the bomb, get rid of that, and uncomment this. So now our display needs to take the animal in addition to the name to say, hey, name, your favorite animal is whatever that animal is. And so if we take a look at the way things are structured, we have our app right here, and that's rendering out this form. And we have a component for the name, a component for the favorite animal, and then a component for the display. Now the name is just accepting a name and an onName change prop here. And if we look at that, that's just a div here with a label and an input. And we just forward along the props to where they need to go. But for the animal, we don't need to manage that state in here because that state doesn't need to be inside of the display, or it didn't before this change that Peter brought upon us. So the favorite animal had all of its state managed internally, just totally separate from the rest of the app. And that's typically the way that you want to structure things, just keep state as close to where it's relevant as possible. But because of this change, we need to make the animal state accessible to the display. And so let's go ahead and we'll say animal equals animal. And where's that animal state going to come from? Well, that animal state needs to be managed by the app itself. And so here I'm going to take this animal state, we're going to move it to the app. So now we have access to the animal, but now our favorite animal no longer has access to that state. And so we need to pass it as props. So we're going to say animal and on animal change. And we'll do something very similar to what the name here is doing. So we're going to pass the value of animal, which we're just passing as the direct prop. And then on animal change is going to be passed to our on change handler right here. So we'll just take that there. Let's get rid of this and get rid of that note here. And now we need to take this favorite animal and pass the animal prop as it's being accepted up there, and an on animal change prop here where we'll pass, I copied that, we'll paste that in right here. So it's going to take the event and we'll set animal to the event target value. Okay. Awesome. So now we come up here, we say Mulan. Oh, we gotta spell that correctly. Mushu. There we go. Hey, Mulan, your favorite animal is Mushu. Super duper. We're really happy about this. So in review, what we did here was we had a situation where there was state being managed in this favorite animal component, and we had a sibling component. So these two are rendered side by side. So a sibling component that needed access to the state that was being managed inside of this component. And so what we did was we lifted state. So you take that state that we have, and we find the component that is the sibling component that needs to share that state, and we find the least common parent between these two components. In our case, that's the app component right here because they're direct siblings, but it could be a couple parents up depending on where you need to have this state shared. And so we just move the state to that least common parent and then pass on the state and mechanisms for updating the state as props to the respective components. And this is called lifting state because you're taking state that's lower in the tree and lifting it to the least common parent higher up in the tree.